Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Mystery Science Theater 3000, episode 1112, Carnival Magic. Carnival Magic is a pretty bizarre 70s movie, a good lost, forgotten B-movie concoction that you can't believe exists but somehow did, and you're not exactly sure what you're witnessing. It sort of reminds me of like a discovery like Manos, where you're like, how did this happen? It's like kind of stumbling onto like the worst crime scene, and you're trying to intellectualize like, how did you get from that to how did we get here? I think Carnival Magic has a lot of that. It's supposed to be like a fun movie about a magician and his talking chimp who save a carnival, and that's like a kid's movie, not one I'd probably see, but you know, a kid's movie. And then it has all these adult themes, including alcoholism and abuse and a lot of people not wearing unbuttoned shirts. I should have just unbuttoned my shirt. A lot of hairy chests in this, a lot of 70s carnies. A really weird film, and it was rediscovered more recently, I guess. Star Crash was the one that most people remembered from their childhoods being played on like TV and being in video stores and stuff, but Carnival Magic is more of kind of the more recent run of cult movies where it was played on TCM Underground. I think it was discovered in 2009, 2010, so this is kind of like the kind of stuff that I think is more of the Alamo Drafthouse kind of roar kind of thing, where it's like a lost, forgotten, just weird kind of concoction type of movie. But Mystery Science Theater is really great at that, and I'd actually say this is one of the better episodes of season 11. It felt like they were having a lot of fun with it. It felt like the riffs were working really well, but it also helps, like, I think the thing with Avalanche and Star Crash have going for it is maybe sort of like this, but not really, is that those movies are sort of like something you'd maybe want to watch, and I think if you're kind of not completely bored by the movie, it kind of helps the riffs and the flow of the episode go faster. The more deep hurting sometimes can overpower even the funniest episode. And Carnival Magic, in a way, it's kind of like a car crash. You can't help but look. I've rewatched certain sections of this, and it kind of helps. I think it helps the episode. It kind of accentuates the jokes because I'm rewatching it. On a first viewing, it was probably the one I thought about most and rewatched the most. Even on the first viewing, I like did the back 10 seconds thing a couple times on it. I thought they did a really funny job. There's some great riffs, including like directed by Al Addison. That's the pseudonym that Alan Smithy uses. The whole thing with Crow and Tom Servo talking about how this was just a simple movie a guy made because he had access to a carnival, and then made, you know, on the cheap, and then it was forgotten, resurrected, and put on a show where mad scientists force robots to watch it. I can't do it exactly, but it was like a hilarious, it was really, really funny. I keep thinking Barron brings that to the show, but clearly Hampton was doing that as well, so I should stop putting all the cinephile stuff so squarely on Barron, but I think they all are major cinephiles. They even did a Back to the Future thing about like, you can't drive that car on grass unless you have power. There's so many like really great riffs in this, and they have a lot of fun with this. This is a movie you can have fun with. This is a movie I could see like having a few drinks with friends and laughing over and talking over and things like that, and that makes Carnival Magic almost perfect. Maybe almost like too perfect. I don't think it rises to the level of comedy perfection that Cry Wilderness did. I'm starting to realize that's the Manos of this season. That's the established classic. It's not like everyone I'm gonna go, well, it's not as good as Cry Wilderness, but it just, as I watch them, I'm like, okay, they're all good. But I thought they really brought it in this episode, particularly like when they're moving on the seats down there. Like, they did a lot of funny things, like Crow and Servo getting ice cream. They tried to fight them at one point. Like, Servo rose up. I really liked them moving in the seats in this one. Some people complain about that, but I noticed as the show goes on, and I know they pretty much shot these in order, you can almost tell, particularly with the riffs, because they get more comfortable in the new ideas that are newer to the whole Mystery Science Theater thing. Jonah and the Bots moving as much as they do, I think works the best I've seen so far in this season. Now, the big celebrity cameo is Mark Hamill. This is a very 70s episode, although this film apparently was released in 81. So like 70s, but in the Midwest. You know how like Freaks and Geeks takes place in 80, but it looks like 76. It used to take a while for things to change. Now it's like fucking internet changed all that. Thanks a lot. But was this made in like the late 70s? Everything I've read about this is like, oh, this is a 70s movie, held Mystery Science Theater. Now I'm like, wait, this was 81 according to the Wikipedia. The host segment with Mark Hamill was epic, amazing. I thought he was good because he's playing a character, and Mark Hamill has a lot of range, and you don't get to see him do that as much. It's kind of more of his thing with the voiceover animation stuff, and you don't get to see him do that in live action really, and I thought he did really well. It kind of made me go, wow, people should have more fun with Mark Hamill because he was really good in this. This is a very like 70s episode, but like forgotten, creepy, like snuff film 70s is what this film reminds me of, not Mark Hamill. Carnival Magic does feel like a creepy snuff film, especially because it's done by a guy who did like B horror movies, and he clearly like, I can make a family film. Oh wait, I probably don't know how to do that. Forget versatility. Let's make a bizarre concoction that is this. Don't drink it though, you might die. A lot of the host segments were really strong and had a lot to do with the movie, honestly. I don't think there were any hosts. The only ones that really didn't was like at the beginning with the invention exchange and stuff with that sweat stuff. But most of it really had a lot to do with the movie, but I think the movie kind of overpowers this episode because it is like a car crash. It's like Carnival Magic. You can't look away. And apparently, according to Jonah, everyone thought this would be the bigger episode of the season, and that's what Jonah seemed to say in the Revival League Jonah Spoils Everything podcast, which I'm listening to in parts as I'm shooting these in order of how I'm watching them. So, but it seems to be he kind of thought this would be the big one over Cry Wilderness. Certain ones, like I noticed you have the pronounced classics of the Mistyverse, and then you have a lot of good ones that kind of certain people like and certain people don't, and like Beasts of Hollow Mountain I know some people don't like, but I really like that one, and this one I do quite like. I think it's like completely ridiculous, and that they dubbed the monkey later. I wonder how they find out this stuff, because I couldn't find as much information, and there's a pyramid scheme. Maybe I needed to search a little harder than I did. I don't know. The one interesting thing in terms of the continuity is they're picking up continuity with Kingo wanting to marry Jonah, which they kind of drop after the beginning, but whatever. And then the whole thing with the weird little thing with, and then you see a guy pop up in a purple jumpsuit with people who look like Servo and Crow and Tom, and that's Matt McGinnis, who apparently has been a writer throughout the season, and he's credited as Matt Claude Van Damme, which would kind of insinuate that he's a host. Is he a later test subject? What is he exactly? Is there going to be two hosts? Is there going to be two different Mystery Science Theaters? What's the deal with that? Is this Jonah's only season? Like, did they already work out a replacement for Jonah? Would that work better in the thing to have someone obscure kind of take over a Mystery Science Theater than someone who's already established more like Jonah? I still really like Jonah. I don't want Jonah to go away or anything like that, but it does like bring up all these questions. I'm curious what's going to happen in terms of continuity. It's interesting that the sci-fi episodes, which did have continuity, which clearly it seems to be there's like some people who were fascinated by the continuity, some people are like, I'm not a sci-fi fan base, and I did like the sci-fi episodes. I wasn't as into the continuity. I didn't get into it as much, and as Kevin Murphy apparently once said, it's just a silly talking puppet show. We shouldn't have continuity from week to week, which I sort of agree with. I mean, Sesame Street doesn't. Muppet Show didn't really, sort of. Maybe that new one. But I was at least interested because I was like, wait, it like made me think about like, who is this guy? Like I had to look him up. I had to figure out who Matt McGinnis was and all this stuff, and hearing about it from the Jonah Spoils Everything thing, that was interesting, and I like what they're doing, but I'm more interested in that than the Kinga marrying Jonah thing. I think is sort of dumb. I'm not really into that, but I do think the continuity was handled better than sci-fi, because that was like pretty much the opening segment was that, and then you got to the movie, and this is like, oh, you get the thing with the yeast pet, and you get the roast flavored sweat thing, and like you get those, and you get the continuity. And instead of going continuity is the only thing, and I don't think that would work as well. I really like this episode. I thought it was one of the better ones. I think Carnival Magic, I don't think I'd want to watch this Mystery Science Theater I think Carnival Magic is probably one of the better episodes. I thought the riffs were really funny. I liked all the host segments. I like this episode pretty well, and I put this up at more of the topper tier. I think this has a certain magic to all the Carnival Magic with all those carnies that kind of infects you. It makes you want to think about it and wonder, what exactly were they thinking, and what exactly am I watching? And there's enough fascinating nature to this movie to make this episode memorable in its own right, but the riffs and all the jokes in it were actually really, really funny. And the fact that I was so enraptured by this episode, I think speaks highly of it. I might end up liking this maybe as much as Cry Wilderness one day, but it didn't strike me as quickly as that one, but I still think it is probably on the topper tier of how I felt about season 11 and how good it really is. So if you have seen Mystery Science Theater 3000, episode 1112, Carnival Magic, and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to.